And welcome back, everybody, to another video. I know you guys have probably heard the recent news of with Colorado, the DC, the defensive coordinator Charles Kelly leaving for Auburn. The reason why this is news. I know there's a lot of movement that goes on in every college team every year, but the reason why this is alarming is because there's so much turnaround after the first year. That's a very alarming sign. That's an alarming sign. Just like in any profession, when there's a high degree of turnaround, that means there's something systemically wrong within the organization. And we understood that this year, this past year with Colorado, they did demote, allegedly, they demoted the offensive coordinator. And as you can, if you look back at my channels, I don't believe he was demoted. I believe that the offensive coordinator, Sean Lewis, actually just stepped down. I think that his offensive philosophy and the offensive philosophy of Coach Prime didn't gel, so he decided to just step down because he could not incorporate or insert the running game as he wanted to. Coach Prime was very adamant about having the ball in his son's hands, which means that your offense is going to be predicated on a lot of pass plays, and I think that's what happened there. I don't think that it's necessarily wise to always adhere to what the mainstream news gives you. A lot of the times when you get information from mainstream media, you owe it to yourself to do your own digging and come up with your own conclusions. It doesn't mean that you're right all the time, but you have to lean to what makes more sense to you. And what made more sense to me was that Sean Lewis was not necessarily demoted by Coach Prime. I believe he wanted to step down. And as he stepped down, you saw that he already had a job lined up elsewhere. He wanted to leave. Now, the next thing we have here, we have Charles Kelly, the defensive coordinator, who's leaving as well. So that to me is alarming because when Coach Prime came in, he came in with his Louis luggage, he came in with his team, he came to turn around Colorado. But this is not a good sign because the coaching staff that you brought within the first year are already leaving you, and it's not like you've had sustained success at Colorado where these coaches are now getting offers. I believe these coaches were looking to leave. They saw the clown show. They saw the circus act. They saw what Coach Prime was really about after working with him. Because initially, when a salesman comes to your door to sell you an item or sell you a dream or sell you a vision, the salesman can be very convincing, and Coach Prime is very convincing. He arguably had one of the top coaching had arguably one of the top coaching staffs in all of college football. When you're factoring in, the time of experiences these guys have had. Sean Lewis has been a head coach before. Charles Kelly is a proven coach, defensive coordinator. You had good offensive line coaches. He had a good staff. The debacle of the team had nothing to do with coaching to me in terms of his coaching staff. I think the heavy hand of Coach Prime is what drove this football team down the drain. And like I said before in my previous videos, I believe his second year, Coach Prime's second year, will be truly his first year because he's starting all over again. Everything he brought the first year is left. When I say everything, I don't mean that literally. I just mean the main core components of the things that he brought the first year are all leaving. When you have to kind of revamp your entire coaching staff, that's a turnaround within a turnaround. It also delays the speed of how you're going to turn around a team. When a coach initially comes to a team, like I told you guys, it's a 3 to 5 year process of turning around a program or rebuilding a program. Whenever you have turnarounds like this that happen early after the first year, it puts you back behind the 8 ball. So your second year truly becomes your first year. It puts you behind. So it retards the process of you actually rebuilding. So I'm going to read this article here. It's from Buff Zone. It says that the DC Charles Kelly is leaving Colorado Buffs for Auburn. And it says here that Deion Sanders will have 2 new coordinators for his second season as the head coach at Colorado. And that's not a good thing. You have an influx of a bunch of guys coming through the portal. You had an exodus of a lot of players who left. And I just think that the word is out. And you had, I listened to a video with Jordan Seaton, the offensive lineman, #1 ranked offensive lineman in the country. He talked about how what made him come to Colorado was the personable approach of Coach Prime. Well, we've heard two stories. We've heard stories about how how Coach Prime is not approachable, especially if you're not his own. And I really truly believe that when he came to Colorado University, the players that were already there, he had no affection towards them. And you guys saw the interview on Jason Whitlock's show Fearless on YouTube when he interviewed those two ex-players. He was not approachable at all. But I think that if Coach Prime brought you in, he he'll allow you access to a degree. But I think that's all part of the selling program. When Coach Prime is trying to sell you something, he's very convincing. But once you get there, we'll see if that same personable approach continues. Jordan Seaton said that was one of the factors, one of the major factors of why he actually decided to go with Colorado, is because the personable relationship that Coach Prime allowed him to have, and how Coach Prime is about the person first. I don't believe that. That's what Jordan Seaton said. It sounds good, but I think that Coach Prime is about Coach Prime first. And then everything else is just falls in place. Everything else is just expendable or collateral damage for his own cause and for his own branding. On Saturday, reading in the article, it says on Saturday, 24/7 Sports, Matt Zenitz reported that defensive coordinator Charles Kelly is leaving the Buffaloes for a job at Auburn. Because you have to ask yourself, if Coach Prime was such a good person, such a good coach, and was running a stable program, why would all these coaches be leaving? Remember the other African American coach, he left too. I think he was I don't know if he was a defensive line coach. I don't know what he was, but he left for Georgia. So everyone's leaving. If people truly believe the vision of Coach Prime, they would stay, especially after his first year. Usually people leave after the third year when they see it's not working. The first year was enough for a lot of these coaches. They are out. They are jumping ship. Now, what you blind followers would say, non-objective followers would say, is that, oh, if they're not, these are the people that need to leave because they're not with Coach Prime, then you got to leave. These people were never for him. You guys put Coach Prime on such a high pedestal that you guys almost deify him to a degree that when anybody gives any type of constructive criticism or anybody says something that's contrary to the popular narrative, then all of a sudden it's like we are attacking your God. No, he's a human being like anybody else. He's susceptible to flaws like anybody else. And you have to look at the circumstances around what's going on with that individual. You have to contextualize your conclusions. If people truly believed in your vision, they would not be leaving after the first year. At least the second year. The first year, people are just leaving. If that's not a glaring sign to you guys, then I don't know what to tell you guys. Earlier this month, offensive coordinator Sean Lewis left Colorado University to become the head coach at San Diego State. We talked about that earlier. He's gone. Carl Reed of 24/7 Sports, who is close with Coach Prime, wrote on Twitter that he spoke with Sanders about Kelly's move on Saturday morning. Quote, this says, "This was something that they both agreed upon." Reed wrote, "Coach Prime is always for his coaches making the moves they feel the best for their careers and their family." To me, that's misleading. Every time people write these articles, they frame it as if it had to pass through the annals of Coach Prime, as if he's the portal of all decisions. Oh, it's okay with me. I'm okay for my coaches. Look, it doesn't matter what Coach Prime wanted. Everyone is looking out for the best interest of them. Okay? I don't think that, Sean Lewis had to, not Sean Lewis, but Charles Kelly had to run it by Coach to say, okay, is it okay if I leave? No, these guys are leaving because they want to get away from Coach Prime. Okay? Reading along here. So this idea that it had to go through Coach and Coach Prime had to stamp his approval on it is still a misleading article, as if the justification or the validity of the move is okay because Coach Prime okayed it. No, Coach Prime is not going to okay it, but he has no choice. He can't hold anybody back. So moving on. Coach Prime always for his coaches making the moves they feel are best for their careers and their family. And you know why he's okay with that? Because that's what Coach Prime does. He makes moves that are best for him and his career and his family, which is why he's into increasing the stats of his son to put him in the Heisman talks to possibly get him into the first round of the NFL draft. That's his motive. That's his MO. Reading further along. Quote, it says, "But the defensive coordinator that is coming in, buckle up, the commitment to providing an NFL atmosphere is evident with this move. Okay, so they're bringing. So now they're gonna hype up the new move that's coming in again with all these new changes. This is year one point. This is year 1B. Year 1A. This should be officially year 2, but because of all the changes, this is gonna be another year 1 to me. Year 1.2, because you can't sustain a rebuild with so many changes. You keep continuing to put yourself behind the 8 ball. And this is not just me talking my opinion. This is just fact. Look up any organization that's trying to rebuild or change their brand or change their messaging or change their vision. It takes a process, and you need continuity and you need consistency within the personnel that you have. You can't have that much of a change, especially in key positions and key roles or key positions like managers or organizers or coaches. Anything, any organization. Now you can have maybe if they had like ball boys and like janitors or equipment managers, people like that leave. That's not a big deal. But when you have major players leaving and you have major coaches leaving, that's a problem. That's a problem. You may not think it is. You may think it's for the best. It's good to have a half glass is full mentality, but at some point we need to look at the reality of the glass and look at it and say, look, the glass is just half. It's half water in the glass, and we can operate our minds around truth rather than trying to dismiss the truths, to be comfortable, to evade the harsh realities of what we are in. Okay, reading along, it says, in his one season with the Buffaloes, Charles Kelly had some ups and downs with defense. Colorado University was opportunistic in creating 20 turnovers, which was 39th nationally, and was dramatically better than 2022 at sacking the quarterback. 27 sacks, up from a nation's worst 9 in 2022. So that was an improvement. But then again, this is also misleading. It's not like Charles Kelly took the same team of 2022 and then they improved their sack totals by that larger of a margin. So remember, these were totally new players that came in. So it's hard. It's misleading to rate the success of the sack totals based upon a whole new team. You can't do that. Okay, moving along, it says, but the Buffs ranked 124th in points allowed. They allowed 34.8 points a game and 130th in yards allowed. That also is misleading as well, because when you look at the way the offense was ran, they ran a very fast-paced offense, right? They would pass the ball consecutively, first down, second down, third down, punt. First down, second down, third down, punt. When you continually put the defense on the field consistently with an inept offensive philosophy, then you're going to expose your defense to that degree of why they're giving up 34.8 points per game. I'm not saying their defense would have been stout if they had a better offensive philosophy, but it would have been better than that. They would not be giving up 35 points a game. You got to understand, like, the defense, they need time to breathe. The game is not just about the X's and O's. There's a philosophical component, there's a psychological component that's added to the game as well. When the defense gets off the field, let's say they force a 3 and out, or they force the opposing team to punt. They're happy, right? They just need the offense to go out there, give them a break, give them something to look forward to. But next you know, immediately they get on the sideline, they have to come back out on the field again. They don't get time to rest. They get exposed. So that's not on Charles Kelly. That's on the philosophy of Coach Prime, which is why Charles Kelly is getting the hell out of there. Because working with Coach Prime is making it look like Charles Kelly is an inept defensive coordinator. I heard a lot of comments saying things like, oh, the defensive coordinator needs to go. He doesn't know what he's doing. No one hardly ever points the finger at Coach Prime. It can't be his fault. It's his coach's fault. Because you guys are under the assumption that he gives his coordinators free reign. You are misled. You are widely mistaken if you think that he allows his coaches to do whatever they want. Especially on the offensive side of the ball with his son at the helm. He's not going to allow you to do what he wants. If you take the ball out of Shador's hands, you will have hell to pay. Trust me. People who are in the inside have already made this very clear. You're the ones that are not looking at the truths and trying to paint Coach Prime as this, I don't know, sympathetic figure that needs to be garnered with all the respect and praise for being the man that he is. Not saying he's a bad guy, but we have to look between the lines here and understand what's going on. No one wants to work with a leader that makes them look bad. And that's what happened. it made it seem like Charles Kelly's defense was horrible, and it wasn't. The offense, remember, football is a synergistic sport. Offense and defense work in tandem. The better your offense, the better your defense. Your defense doesn't have to do much if you have a good offense. But when you continually put your defense on the field, you're going to give up a lot of yards. Reading along in the article, it says Kelly came to Colorado University last winter after 4 seasons as the associate defensive coordinator at Alabama. He previously worked at Tennessee, Florida State, Georgia Tech, and other places. Look at the experiences this guy has at good universities. So he's not an idiot. The only novice here is Coach Prime. He's never coached in the Power 5 conference. So we have to look at that. Who has more of the experience and who has less of it? Kelly, 56 years old, is an Auburn alum, playing defensive back for the Tigers in the late 1980s. So that's what the article, that's all the article there. So yeah, so tell me what you guys think of these changes that are going on. I'm not saying that it's time for panic, but it should be alarming. It should give people who are Colorado enthusiasts, be it even if you were not a Colorado enthusiast before Prime, whether you're following Colorado now because Coach Sanders is there, or you've been a hardcore follower of Colorado before the influx of Coach Prime and his Louis luggage, I want you guys to think about that for a second. When there's that much of a change, what do you think? And then you also have narratives that are being put out there as if that the college enterprise, college football in itself, has some kind of conspiracy against Coach Prime. And I think that's idiotic. He's not that important, folks. There are many universities. Yeah, he's raking in a lot of money. He's raking in a lot of he's bringing in a lot of attention to college football, which is great. But let's stop this thing about people trying to conspire against him. We even had earlier in the year people saying that there was a mole inside the football team. People were talking about how Sean Lewis, the offensive coordinator, is a mole. He's sent there to sabotage Coach Prime. And then you had some people even saying Coach Lewis is in on it too. We can't hypothesize these things, folks, and theorize these things without any proof. He chose these people. He had a good coaching staff. You know, it's just him. He needs to look in the mirror. When I say him, Coach Prime needs to look in the mirror, but he's not going to do that. Remember, I think he made a statement about no one's going to knock me off my horse. So if he's on his high horse, he's not going to get knocked down. But then again, I believe that the universe has a way of bringing people down who don't adhere to the signs around them. That's just the way the universe works. Galactic law is undefeated. If you continue to ignore what's being told to you, eventually you get what's coming to you. So again, report, defensive coordinator Charles Kelly leaving Colorado Buffs for Auburn. So here we go. We have to plug in another person who's coming in. We'll see how it works next year. With all these changes, we'll see how it works. Again, you have to think to yourself, in the rebuild, this is, again, going to be year one. Year one start. Forget the first year. Forget the little 3-game winning streak they had when everybody was doing the Shador and the whole world was polarized by what Coach Prime and Colorado were doing on the college levels. Scratch all of that. This second year is Coach Prime's first year. And he's going to have a harder coaching challenge, especially moving to a new conference. So there's many changes going on. An influx of portal transfers, players leaving, coaches leaving. You're pretty much starting all over again. But that's what happens when you don't have stability in the coaching, in your coaching. When you don't have stability in your locker room, when there's chaos, when there's too many distractions, when you're not making football, when you're making football more than what it is. We'll see how it goes. All right, thank you guys for listening. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. All right, bye-bye.